Hello everyone, we are Group 7 and today we're going to talk about impact of COVID-19 on employment in tourism. This is the members of our group. Well, have you ever wondered that does COVID-19 really affect employability? Because everyone blames COVID-19 for everything. So we really want to know, is this really true? And why employability is so important. When we work, we get paid, and then we can pay rent, buy groceries, and everything. But what if we don't have a job? So, these basic things are not going to be easy to get, right? During COVID 19, everyone affects by it somehow. But it's okay if we just stay home, working from home, do a job remotely. If that's the case, we still can pay rent and everything would be fine. But what about the career or the people that have to deal with customers? That they cannot stay home. Will they lose their job? And if they lose their jobs, a tons of problems will come after, right? How can they pay for rent? How can they buy some basic things or pay for loans? Unfortunately, not every sector has these problems, but the industry that has been affected by it the most is tourism. Due to the lockdown policy of the government, people cannot go out having fun, go for vacation, especially when the border is closed. That means people outside the country cannot come to Australia, not only for traveling, but for business trip as well. So the people who are related to tourism industry are affected by that the most. That's why we are interested in employability, especially during COVID-19.
I will talk about how to get data I need. Firstly, from Australian Bureau of Statistics, we get detailed monthly and quarterly labor force survey data, including hours, regions, families, job duration, culture, industry, and occupation. Secondly, we get more statistics about relation between labor and employment in Queensland during the pandemic years from Queensland government website. Lastly, we also find more information about tourism region data from Australian government to figure out if there exists any regularity between the years during COVID-19 and the tourism regions.
After getting the data that we needed, our next job was to make the data fit for use. The employment data had dates, so we transformed the dates to year as dates are unnecessary for our analysis. We tried to look for null and missing values as well as outliers. Fortunately, we didn't had any outliers in our dataset. The data was vast in amount and had information about employment and unemployment from the year 1990 until now. However, we were only interested for the data between 2019 to 2022. So we filtered this time frame from the whole data set and took a chunk of it. As for the jobs data, there are multiple job profiles data given in the data set. However, we were only interested in the data which is only related to tourism. So we filtered out a job profile which are related to tourism, which are 4514, 4516, 4517, and 4522. We took this data from the Queensland Government Tourism Data site and we used the data for Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Sunshine Coast. After that, we plotted this graph of employment and unemployment from the year 2019 to 2021. It can be seen from the graph that the employment rate fell down and the unemployment rate increased. The unemployment rate increased from 5.3% to 7.4% between March and June 2020 and gradually declined to 4.6% by July 2021. The reason behind the unemployment is most likely due to COVID-19 restriction. In late March 2020, Australia introduced a widespread social distancing and other business related and travel restrictions to slow down the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. These measures include the shutdown of non-essential industries which had large labor market effects. Following these restrictions, the number of employed people fell by almost 600,000 between March and April 2020. It dropped by a further almost 264,000 in May 2020. We assumed that the reason behind this rising of unemployment was increase in COVID-19 cases. However, if you look at the graph, the COVID-19 cases were very low when the unemployment was high. So the reason behind unemployment was not the increased number of cases but the strict restrictions that were imposed by the government, which made many people either lose or leave their job.
So, what's the data telling us? Firstly, let's have a comparison with the number of employed persons and the unemployed persons. We can find out during 2015 to 2019, before lockdown time in Australia, both of the number has a slightly increasing which is stable for a long time. After 2019, the employed numbers is stable comparatively as well, but the unemployed number increasing rapidly to the peak in 2020. While fortunately during 2020 to 2022, we can see that the unemployed number has dropped quickly, while the number of employed persons has a stable increasing at the same time. Let's see what happened in Queensland tourism at that time. Look at the box plots. We can figure out the maximum and minimum values of number of the actual work hours in tourism from our dataset now. Let's focus on the minimum values of this box plot. It happens on May 1, 2020. Let's find out what happened about it. If we look at the graph of the tourism hours of all jobs in tourism history, we can see that after 2020, the working hours of the people who work in tourism decreased significantly, which is related to the previous graph that the unemployed rates increased at this time when the COVID-19 cases was discovered. Besides, on March 2020, Australia government declared a human biosecurity emergency and its borders were closed and continuing to periodically close during the localized outbreaks. You can see the graph, which is daily new confirmed number of the cases in the whole of Australia, based on the reports on the Johns Hopkins Center for Health and Security. New cases was quite high during that time, and according to the closing of the border was this could make the growth of the tourism has decelerated.
This is a graph of median of working hour of the four main jobs that are in tourism industry from 2017 to 2022. You can see that after 2019, which COVID-19 has happened, the working hours decreased in every job, especially tourism and traveler advisor. According to the previous graph, that this period of time, the borders were closed and they were locked down due to the Queensland health, and it was extended as we all know that they just opened borders at the beginning of this year. That's why it made tourism industry face a difficult time. The lockdown policy. And this is a heat map about the number of travelers in Queensland for the years 2018 to 2020. From the top to bottom on this map, there were three major tourism destinations in Queensland: Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, and the Gold Coast. The place with the most visitors is indicated by the red dot on the map, so let's focus on that. As can be seen, Brisbane hosts the largest redoubled in 2019. That means in the last 3 years, Brisbane has seen the most visitors among the three cities. However, it vanished in 2020, leaving only a single pixel dot in Brisbane. So this can show that less visitors visit Queensland after COVID-19 and lockdown, and this made employment in tourism industry decreasing and unemployment increasing because of that.